Well, it's morning for me anyway. So the last circle creation, circle casting, sacred space creation that I actually want to talk about in this series is the Wiccan Circle. Now, before I actually get into that, I just want to mention something: the history of Wicca, because this was always a contentious point, and it seems to still be a bit of a problem, because some people are still carrying on that Wicca is older than Gardner. Simply put, Wicca, the religion Wicca, was started by Gardner. He didn't originally call it Wicca when he first started it. It developed over time, but he is the one who started the whole process, and he is the one who created the religion of Wicca, or what we know as the religion of Wicca today. Now, if you go back further, before Gardner, there is an Old English word which is witch or witcher. One refers to masculine, one refers to feminine. So you have the masculine, which is witcha, with an A at the end. It's the pronunciation is with the I is an E. It is pronounced as an E, and the double C is pronounced as a ch. So it's witcha. And although it is spelt the same, W-I-C-C-A, this does not refer to the religion of Wicca that Gardner created. It refers to a masculine or a male practitioner. And the feminine version, the female practitioner, is Witch, with an E at the end, W-I-C-C-E. So I think, I don't know if this is where the confusion comes in, or whether it's just people passing bad knowledge that the next person picks up and passes along to the next person, etc., etc., like a broken telephone. But please understand that Wicca is not older, the religion Wicca is not older than Gardner. And if anybody that portrays themselves as being qualified starts saying this, then please take whatever else they say with a grain of salt. Go and do your own research it inside and out. There's a lot of information on the internet. Some of it's bad, some of it's good. But if you ask the right people and you read the right books and you read the right information on the internet, you are going to come to the truth. Of course, the truth is what you make it, I suppose. At the end of the day, it's what you decide it is. But when it comes to, there are certain, truth is subjective, but when it comes to things like this, which is history, it's absolute truth, if you ask me. Anyway, let's get on to the Wiccan Circle casting. So what you're going to want to do first is just gather a couple things. There are certain tools that you put onto the altar and you use as you're casting the circle. But if you don't want to go out and buy the stuff, that's fine. You don't need to. It's not actually necessary. But what you are going to do, what you are going to need is an altar candle. Candle is easy enough to come by. Usually this is usually a white candle, so you can just go and buy a normal white candle from the store. Then you're going to need an athame. An athame is a ritual dagger, and if you don't have one, that's fine. It's normally a double-edged dagger, but if you don't have one, or you don't want to go buy one, you can't afford one, don't worry, you have fingers. This is your athame. Just two pointed fingers or one pointed finger, some people do, but I like two pointed fingers. And you use this to point and draw pentagrams in the circle and direct. The reason for using the athame, and some use the sword, especially when they're circumambulating the circle and drawing the actual circle on the floor. The reason is that the energy comes from you, and it projects out through the athame. So the athame doesn't hold the power, you hold the power. You have the energy and you direct it out. So the athame or the sword is just there to help you direct your will, help you direct your intent. But you have, as I say, you've got two fingers, use them. Then you're going to want a bowl of water and a bowl of salt, just normal bowls. Just make them little bowls, tiny little bowls, don't need to be big bowls. and that's fine. A chalice. Chalice is just a ritual goblet, really. Just use a wine glass if you've got a wine glass. If you're going to continue doing these practices, then if you're taking stuff out of the kitchen, rather take something you can continue to use and not use for anything else. So if you do take a wine glass out of the kitchen, then don't go and put it back in the kitchen. Just keep it on your altar. Wash it, obviously. You don't want it getting dirty, but put it back on your altar or in your toolbox or your ritual toolbox or wherever it may be. But don't put it back in the kitchen to be used for general use. Make it just for ritual use. You're going to need a libation dish. Libations are just this pouring of offerings, of liquid offerings, so wine, water, things like that. So it can just be a normal dish. Just get some edges so that the liquid doesn't actually float out and onto the altar and ruin everything. Then incense and an incense holder. What you use is up to you. You can use a thurible with a charcoal. The thurible is like the little cup with the lid on the top with holes in, and then it's usually got chains that you hold and you swing, like in the Catholic churches. And then you put a charcoal inside and you put the usually resin incense like myrrh or frankincense or something. Or you can use cones, incense cones. Just make sure you've got a proper holder to put it on, or incense sticks. Up to you. Completely up to you what you can afford, what you want to get. So options there. And then obviously matches. Get a box of matches. If you want to get some tapers that you can, just thin candles, just little thin long candles that you can actually light. And then you can go around and light everything, or you can get long matches if you don't want to burn yourself. So again, up to you. But now, before you actually start doing your ritual with your circle casting, just make sure you've got everything. Just make a checklist, because it's, especially with a Wiccan circle, once it's actually cast, to get out you have to actually draw a door. And break through the energy temporarily, and it can be a bit of a pain. It's not very nice to do, so make sure you've got everything inside your circle space before you actually start. Also, what you're going to want to do at each gate, at each quarter, just put a candle, and you can also put a representation of the element. Now the candles here can either be all white, or you can use the colors of the elements. So in the east is air. This is a ceremonial format, ceremonial magic format. So in the east would be air, so that would be yellow. So you can use a yellow candle, or you can place some incense there. Incense representing air, because it's the smoke. The smoke basically represents air. Then you would go to the day position, and if you're watching this video without watching the previous ones, I did explain it in the previous video. I'm referring to day and night positions because with you working in different hemispheres, the path of the sun goes in different directions. So I'll link that one above, just so that you know what I'm talking about. So you go from the east to the day position, which would then be fire, and you use a red candle. You can just use the candle here, obviously, because it's a flame, it's representing fire. Then you go to the west, which is water, so you can use a blue candle, and you can put a bowl of water. And then to the night position, where you would put a green candle. This is the earth position. So you put a green candle. You can put a little potted plant there if you want to. Or a stone. Stone's great. Crystal even, just something to represent earth. Also, if you find that you don't have enough light in the room, once all the candles have been lit, especially at the beginning, because you're going to be lighting just the altar candle, you can have other candles in the space, such as illumination candles. They have no specific reason except to actually just light up the area, making everything a bit more visible. So what you want to do is you want to start by lighting your altar candle and any of these illumination candles, and light the incense as well. Now please understand that the circle casting that I'm representing here is it's not specifically the initiatory Wicca circle casting. I was never part of Gardnerian group or an Alexandrian group, Sioux Wicca, whichever initiatory Wicca group that you can think of. I was never an initiate, but I did perform circle casting to the best of my ability to what the initiatory Wicca format would be. Now, what I found back then, back then compared to now, what we're finding now, and I don't know if I'm just, YouTube is giving me, the YouTube algorithm is just giving me stuff that, or from people that it just feels like giving, and I'm missing everything else. But what it seems is that Wicca, back then, years ago, we used to call what you view as Wicca, which has become mainstream Wicca now, as we used to call it Wiccanesque or book Wicca. But it seems that it's just gone into that direction. The types of circle casting I'm seeing from people who consider themselves to be Wicca, it's just standing at each gate and drawing a little pentagram and saying a couple of words, and then moving to the next one and drawing the pentagram and saying a couple of words. There's no energy. There's absolutely no energy. If you're not actually working with the energy, you're not doing anything. All you're doing is just drawing little pictures in the air and just saying a couple of words, and that's it. But there's no energy. There's no. I mean, if you draw a proper circle, a proper Wiccan circle, anybody with a sight can actually see a blue flame on the floor. So if you're not working with that energy, you're not actually doing the job right. And it seems that it's gone that way. It's gone into this mainstream Wicca where it's just pretty pictures and pretty little movements and saying nice words and looking good. It doesn't work. I'm sorry. It just doesn't work for me. Well, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, period. Because you're not actually working with energy. Excuse me. Just want some coffee. Alright, so let's get back. So, as I say, the circle casting that I'm presenting here is what initiatory Wicca would be, or to the best of ability, of knowledge that somebody who hasn't been initiated will come across. If you're actually interested, try and get hold of The Witch's Bible by the Farrars, Janet Farrar. I don't have the book anymore. I'll put the book title in the description below. I'll just double check what it's called and who it's by, because I remember there was The Witch's Bible and then there's also Witch's Bible. So I'll put that in the description. Just check below. But that book's excellent. It goes through the degrees of initiatory Wicca, and it goes through all the rituals and the processes that you take, the things that you study, and everything else. So really, if you want to know about Wicca, I'm not going to say everybody follows the same path or the same rituals and everything else, but as far as trying to get to initiatory Wicca without being an initiate, it's an excellent book. I thought it was anyway. If anybody disagrees with me, please let me know, because I'd love to hear your opinions. Alright, anyway, so back to it. And as I say, I mean, this is the ritual I used to use when I was doing Wiccan circles. So, all right, so you've lit your candles and your incenses and everything else, and then you just sit in the middle of the space, and you build a ball of white energy inside your heart, and you just keep breathing, and you let that energy expand, and the energy expands, and it expands to the perimeter of the circle space that you want to work in. This just creates a nice sphere of energy that you've pulled in. So you've started working with energy. You've started doing some breath work. You've started pulling energy into the body and letting it expand outside the body. So it's actually just a good start to actually getting that energy flowing. Now the Wiccan Circle is usually 9 feet in diameter. That's the standard. If you can't make it 9 feet, if your space is too small, don't worry about it. But if you have a big space, then just use a circle that is 9 feet in diameter. Okay, then what you do, you can take a taper candle, light that from the altar candle, and then you're going to go around to all the gate candles, and you're going to light them. Now you're going to move in diagonal direction, which is walking with the sun. So if you're in the northern hemisphere, you are going to go from east to south to west to north. If you're in the southern hemisphere, you're going to go from east to north to west to south. Did I say south just now? Sorry, let me just repeat that. If you're in the northern hemisphere, you're going to go from east to south to west to north. If you're in the southern hemisphere, you're going to go from east to north to west to south. There we go. Okay, so you're going to take the taper candle, and you're going to go. Okay, so you're going to start in the east, and then you're going to go diagonal with the sun, and you're just going to light the candles at the gates. Then you're going to return to the altar. The altar is usually placed to the east. Sorry, I forgot to mention that part. Altar is usually placed to the east. So you start when you start your circumambulations, you start in the east, you move around, you come back to the east, which means you come back to your altar. So you come back to your altar, and then you pick up your athame, and you just put a little bit of salt on the tip of the athame. Obviously, if you're using your fingers, you can just take a pinch of salt, and you say, "Salt is life. Let the salt be pure, and let it purify my life, as I use it in this rite, dedicated to the God and Goddess in whom I believe." And then you take 3 pinches and you sprinkle that into the water. Okay, so you take 3 pinches and then you stir the water, and then you just hold up the athame or your finger, and say, "As the rod is to the god, so is the chalice to the goddess." And then you stick the athame or your finger into the water, into the chalice, and you say, "And together they are one." It's representative of the great rite of the combination of the masculine and feminine. And then you just imagine divine power just filling the water. Okay, now what you're going to do, you're going to circumambulate 3 times with the elements. So what you do, you take the athame and go to the east, or I say, take your fingers. You go to the east, and what you're going to do is you're going to draw a blue, a circle. You're going to actually draw the circle, the perimeter of the circle, and as you draw it, you're going to imagine blue flame forming on the floor. And you're going to do this 3 times with combination of the elements. So what you're going to do, you've got your athame or your fingers. This represents air. Then what you're going to do, you're going to go around again with the salt and water, and you're going to sprinkle that. So that's earth and water. And then you're going to go around a 3rd time with the altar candle. Just hold it and just walk around with the altar candle, and that's the representation of fire. So each time you're going to inscribe this circle in the ground, and you create this like wall of blue flame that you stand in the middle of or work inside of. Okay, then you come back to the east, and you take the salt water, and you dip your fingers in it, and then you draw a pentagram on your torso. So this is, you dab at the throat, you dab at the left hip, right breast, left breast, right hip. Okay, and you say, "I now invite the mighty ones to witness this rite I hold in their honor." Okay, then what you're going to do, you're going to call the Watchtowers. Just need some more coffee. Don't drink coffee while you're doing this, by the way. Okay, so you're going to call the Watchtowers. So what you're going to do, you're going to go start in the east. So go to the east, and then what you're going to sort of imagine a scene of blustery winds and clouds and things that represent air. So it's usually clouds, wind blowing, and things like that. And then what you're going to do, you're going to call the Watchtower and the Lord of the Watchtower. Now the Watchtowers, they're kind of like protective guardians, the Lord as well. So you can imagine the Watchtowers, if you imagine a castle, and the castle has like turrets. So these turrets are the Watchtowers, and then the Lord of the Watchtower is the guardian that stands in the Watchtower. So these are the guardians at the gates. So you're going to call the Watchtowers at each gate, each quarter, and then you're going to draw an invoking pentagram with your athame, with your fingers, whatever it may be. But after you call the Watchtower, just stand for a while and just let the energy of the element bleed into the circle, into that section of the circle, and fill your body. And you can do this by just imagining either the element itself, so air filling the circle and filling your body, or just the color. If you're in, as you say, you start in the east, so when you're in the east, just imagine yellow coming into the circle and filling your body. And you might try and use all your senses as well. So you might get a bit of a smell off it. You might feel the coldness of the air. You might feel the heat of the fire, the watery feeling of water, and the solidity of earth. So try and get those feelings, the sensory ideology of the element itself as you're doing this. So you stand in the east and you say, ye lords of the watchtowers of the east, ye lords of air, I do summon and call you forth to guard and protect this sacred space, or this sacred circle. And then you just stand there for a while, let the energy come in, just feel it, draw it in. What you can do is do some breathing as well if you want to. So you breathe out, and then as you breathe in, it pulls the energy into you. And then once you've done that, you just start at the top of the pentagram. Let me try and get this in the screen here. Start at the top of the pentagram, and then it's going to be an invoking earth. So you're going to go, this might actually display back to front on the screen. So you're going to go, it would be from head to left hip. So you're going to go from head to left hip, to right shoulder, to left shoulder, to right hip, to head. There you go. And there's your invoking pentagram. And then you do that at each quarter. So from the east, you move down round to the day position, to the fire position, and you would stand there and say, ye lords of the watchtowers of the north, ye lords of fire, I do summon and call you forth to guard and protect this sacred circle. Let the energy come in, draw the pentagram. Sorry, after you've drawn the pentagram, what you can also do, if you've got an athame or your fingers, just kiss and place on your heart. Sorry, I'm going to smash my microphone here. And then you just move to the next quarter. And then you just move around to the west and say same thing, just call the watchtower with the same words, but you are you're calling the watchtower of the west, ye lords of water, etc., etc., and then you go around to earth, ye lords of the watchtowers of the in my case it's south, so it would be the earth position, whichever that is for you, and then ye lords of earth, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so at this point the circle is now cast. What you can then do is just evoke the mother and father, the lord and the lady. In Wicca, there's always some don't recognize this, but there's always a balance of masculine and feminine, and quite often you won't find a representation. Often you will. I mean, you can get a specific god and a specific goddess within a Wiccan coven, or a Wiccan practitioner may recognize the specific, but usually it's general. It's a representation of all the goddesses and a representation of all the gods, and you bring the masculine and feminine together. So you use god and goddess, mother and father, lord and lady, that type of thing. So you would stand in the middle, raise your arms out, and just say, God and Goddess, Lord and Lady, Father and Mother of all life, guide me and guard me through this rite, and forever keep me safe in your arms, within this circle and without. And then you just visualize the God and Goddess materializing inside the circle. Now you can visualize this as the Goddess being a pillar of black energy and the God being a pillar of white energy. Or, I mean, quite often I used to get these big heads come in, just the big heads. But just whatever representation that you feel works for you, then use that. Okay, so once you've done that, then you just take your athame, just kiss it, thank the Lord and Lady, place the athame on the altar if you're using an athame, otherwise don't worry about that. And then pick up the goblet or the chalice, and spill a little bit just a little bit into the libation dish, and say, my Lord and Lady, and then take a sip yourself, put it down, and that's it. That's the whole ritual. I must say I do like the Wiccan circle casting ritual. It's nice. It's actually quite powerful as well if you do it properly. Okay, and then you do whatever you want to do, your meditation, your work, your spell casting, whatever it may be, and then what you want to do is you want to close, and the closing is kind of it's a bit more involved than something like the less banishing ritual of the pentagram or something like that. You're actually going to deconstruct it, so you're actually going to work backwards. Okay, so what you do, you face your altar, stand in the middle of the circle, you face your altar at the east, and you have the black pillar of the goddess on your right and the white pillar of the god on your left. And you kind of just imagine them kind of fizzling away, disintegrating, going back to where they came from. And you say, "O great God and Goddess, I thank you for being present during this rite, and ere you depart to your pleasant and lovely realms, I bid you hail and farewell." And then you pick up your athame, and you go to the earth position, the night position, the gate, and you say, "Ye lords of the watchtowers," sorry, in my case this is the south, so I'm going to use that. "Ye lords of the watchtowers of the south, ye lords of earth, I do thank you for guarding and protecting the sacred circle, and ere you depart to your pleasant and lovely realms, I bid you hail and farewell." And then what you would do, you would draw a banishing pentagram of earth. So you're going to go from left hip to head to right hip to left shoulder to right shoulder to left hip. Okay. I did discuss the pentagram, the banishing, and I think I've also discussed the invoking pentagram in either the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram or in the Star Ruby discussion. So have a look for those in the playlist. Playlist will pop up at the end of this video, so I'm not going to point you to it here or anything like that. Okay, and then you kiss the athame and place it on your heart, and then you move to the west, and you do the same thing. So you thank the Watchtower, you bid them hail and farewell, and then you draw the banishing ritual of the pentagram, the banishing pentagram of earth. Kiss the athame, put it on your heart, thank them, let them go, and then move to the next position, do the same thing, and then move to the east. Thank the Lord of the Watchtowers of air and in the east, and draw the banishing pentagram. As I say, just thank them, let them go, just release them in your mind, so that they go to wherever they came from. So this is obviously working Widdershins. You're walking against the sun now, because you're deconstructing. You kind of constructed walking with the sun, and now you're deconstructing walking against the sun. And as you're walking, you obviously you go when you go from gate to gate. You can also imagine that blue flame that you constructed in the beginning, that was on the floor and creating like a wall. You can imagine that sort of fading away as you go from quarter to quarter and moving around the circle. And then when you're done with that, you've gone to the east. You've thanked the Watchtower, the Lord of the Watchtower. It's gone away. Then you just stand in the circle, and you can say the sacred circle between this world and that is closed, but never broken. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. So be it. What I used to also like to add at the end was, and please drive safely. And that's it. That's the Wiccan Circle casting. So that's all of the sacred space and circle casting rituals I wanted to discuss in the series. I think it gives you a good foundation of everything. So we've looked at the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, which is good for banishing negativity, banishing anything you don't want within the space that you're going to be working in. We've looked at the Star Ruby, which is the same, but from Aleister Crowley's perspective, from his alteration of it, which has a lot of symbolism in it. If you haven't watched that one, go watch it. It's very interesting. All the symbolism is very interesting. I don't know if my video is very interesting, but I try. Then we've also looked at a Kabbalistic circle creation, sacred space creation that I was taught by Yakuba Swat, my Kabbalah teacher. It's not purely Kabbalistic. He uses it. I know that they use it in the Sangreal Sodality, and they do it's part of their very lengthy rituals. And now we've looked at, you've also looked at the traditional compass round for the traditional witch from British traditional witchcraft, and now the Wiccan circle casting. So I think this gives you a good basis of a view of all different types of ways you can create sacred space and cast a circle, and the reasons why you do it as well. Whether it's a protective space, whether it's banishing energies from the working space, whether it's stepping between this world and the other world, or whether it's bringing the energies into your space, into your microcosm where you are the creatrix. So there's a lot of different ways and different reasons why you actually create circles or cast circles, create sacred space. And obviously, depending on what path or tradition you're going to follow, they've got their reasons and their ways of doing things. So anyway, thanks for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks, cheers.